What's up guys, in this video I'll compare the specs and features of the iPhone 5s and the newly announced Google Nexus 5. Starting off from the display, the Google Nexus 5 comes with a 5.0-inch display, whereas the iPhone 5s comes with a 4.0-inch display, which is actually 1 inch smaller and kind of very small display in terms of the Android world. Every device, even the S4 Mini, HTC ONE Mini, has bigger display than the iPhone 5s. So looking at the resolution, the Google Nexus 5 has 1080p HD resolution, whereas the iPhone 5s has 640 by 1136 pixel resolution. Now here resolution is definitely higher on the Google Nexus 5, and in terms of pixel density, the Google Nexus 5 has almost about 100 times more pixel than the iPhone 5s at about 445 ppi, whereas the iPhone 5s has same amount of pixel as its previous generation iPhone 5, which is 326 ppi. Looking at the software of the both devices, the Google Nexus 5 comes with greatest and latest Android 4.4 KitKat, whereas the iPhone 5s comes with iOS 7. In terms of thickness and weight, the iPhone 5s is actually 1 mm thinner than the Google Nexus 5 at about 7.6 mm, whereas the Google Nexus 5 is 8.59 mm thicker. And on the other hand, in terms of the weight, the Google Nexus 5 is heavier than the iPhone 5s, a little bit heavier at about 130 gram, whereas the iPhone 5s has 112 gram of weight. In terms of processor, the Google Nexus 5 comes with a quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor clocked at 2.3 GHz with Adreno 330 GPU, whereas the iPhone 5s comes with Apple A7 processor with 64-bit architecture and also M7 Motion Core processor built in this chip, which can monitor the position by using the accelerometer. And looking deep into this chip is actually a dual-core chip with 1.3 GHz frequency, and this chip has a PowerVR G6 430 GPU. So if you talk about gaming, definitely iPhone 5s is better than the Google Nexus 5 in terms of gaming, because Apple devices are extremely goddamn optimized in terms of games, because every game look more awesome on iPhone. No game lags on the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 5C, which has the previous generation Apple A6 chipset. But in terms of gaming, the Apple iPhone 5s is definitely ahead with its PowerVR G6 430 GPU. And also the Google Nexus 5 is not bad in terms of gaming, but here if you see the benchmarks, the iPhone 5s is ahead of the Google Nexus 5. In terms of storage, the Google Nexus 5 comes with 16GB of internal memory with no micro SD slot as Google's tradition. On the other hand, the iPhone 5s comes with 16, 32 and 64GB of internal option with no micro SD slot. In terms of camera, both devices has 8 MP camera, but the iPhone 5s has True Tone dual LED flash, whereas the Google Nexus 5 has single LED flash. And both devices comes with great features, but the difference here is that the Google Nexus 5 has actually optical image stabilization, which is the OIS camera. On the other hand, the iPhone 5s has digital image stabilization, but not the optical image stabilization. But in terms of the video recording, the iPhone 5s can record slow motion videos at 120 frames per second and 1080p HD video at 30 frames per second. And also the front facing camera on the iPhone 5s is kind of same as the Google Nexus 5, which is the 1.3 megapixel, and on the iPhone 5s it is 1.2 megapixel, and both can record 720p HD video. And the back camera of the Google Nexus 5 can also record 1080p HD video at 30 frames per second with optical image stabilization and automatic video light stabilization, which is pretty neat feature, which is only available on this device and the LG G2, because both of the devices are manufactured by LG, but these features are not available on the iPhone 5s. In terms of battery life, the Google Nexus 5 comes with 2300 mAh battery, which is not so impressive because lots of Snapdragon 800 devices out there runs on bigger battery. For example, Note 3 with 3200 mAh battery, LG G2 with 3000 mAh battery. So it's not so impressive. But if we compare it with the iPhone 5s, the iPhone 5s has a smaller battery as compared to the Google Nexus 5, which is 1570 mAh battery. And also the users of the iPhone 5s has reported that the battery life on the iPhone 5s has gone worse than the previous iPhone 5. So I don't know if that is true, but the battery on the Google Nexus 5 is bigger than the iPhone 5s by a margin. That's it, guys. That was my comparison review of the specs between the iPhone 5s and the Nexus 5. And vote down below for the winner between these two devices. And I will see you in my next video. Peace out.